What's up, everybody? It's Henry again, coming to you from the PSI Defense channel with a little tutorial video. I bought these passenger side or reverse index mag release, aluminum mag release buttons from Industries, and I was going to install one in one of my T8.1s so that I knew how to do a video a little more efficiently for the other T8.1, but I figured, why do it twice? I'll just show you guys my process, having never done it before. I have replaced the FSC mag release buttons, so it's relatively simple. First of all, big shout out to Industries, big shout out to First Strike, Lapco, Grimberg, Sterling Self-Defense. These aren't sponsored videos, so I'm using my own money to buy this stuff and get content for you guys, all because these are the videos I wish that I had out when I started in less lethal home and self-defense. So if you appreciate the content that I'm putting out, if you're enjoying it, please hit the subscribe button, like the video. It just takes a second and it really helps the channel out big time. Thank you, everybody, and let's get right into it. Of course, for this modification, what you're going to need is a couple picks like this. I got these from the auto parts store. I don't know if it was O'Reilly's or Advanced Auto Parts, but these come in handy when replacing O-rings and things like that. So I know that there's a spring that holds this mag release button in, so I assume I'm going to need these. Got my needle nose pliers. I have the Allen keys that it's going to take to remove all the screws and to disassemble my T8.1s. Let's see what else I've got. Got some lube. This is the First Strike ointment I've been telling you guys that I love using. It's more of a grease, and it's great for any metal to metal contact. It also conditions O-rings really nicely. And this is the lube I got. It's Gumdrops premium lubricant. I like it because it's thick and heavy. I believe I got this from A&S. It's lasted me quite a while. It's really great stuff. I love it, and most importantly, my Folgers 1850 on deck. Keep me cool, calm, and collected while I do this install for you guys. Alright, excuse my rig here. I don't have appropriate tripod yet to shoot this style of video, but where there's a will, there's a way. So I've got quite the rig going on here. I have my camera set up here. That just demonstrates the lengths that I go to give you guys great content. Alright, always keep a clean, dry rag or towel, something that's not going to have a lot of fuzz, you know, something that you can wipe off the internal parts as you go when you relube it. Alrighty, so set this guy aside. Focus on my Tiberius T8.1. And I got a comment on my last video. They were asking about Tiberius versus First Strike T8.1 and how I mentioned that the Tiberius model was different. Well, Tiberius arms is what these markers were made of under their older company. I don't know if they sold it off or if they sold the patents, or however First Strike bought them, but it's currently owned by First Strike. So they make the FSC. They no longer manufacture the T8.1 or the T9.1. So if you find it and on eBay or any store just happens to put one out, snag that up real quick. If you don't want it, let me know that it's out there so I can snag it up and do some cool mods for you guys. So alright, first of all, I'm going to remove a Balder Mini, which is awesome. You just flip the switch and then you push it in, and that allows it to slide out easily. Alright, there we go. Set that aside, and essentially you just have 3 screws and a pin to get this off. Here is the rail screw. You don't want to over tighten this one. This one comes with a washer. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take my time. This video is going to be a little bit long, but there's a lot of good info you guys need to know. This one comes with a washer. Always make sure you put that one right back in the front here, because this hole intrudes into where your barrel is, and you can cause some issues and problems there. So I'm going to release the mag. Alright, everything's clear. I am going to remove my barrel, just a stock barrel. I've got Sterling self-defense detents in there. These things are awesome. They last a gazillion years, and they're a lot firmer. I think they hold the rounds in a lot better. But this screw hole intrudes into the chamber that your barrel goes into, and you're going to want to be careful, because when I actually bought this thing used, one of the problems they had, I couldn't get the barrel out, is that this screw was cranked down way too tight, and it messed the barrel all up and caused issues. So this is your firing bolt spring. It's what pushes your firing bolt back into place. Alright, I'll remove this screw second. This screw, you're going to make sure you, when you tighten it really good, because it is the only other screw that secures your regulator to the upper gun body. Alright, so there we go. Last screw is right here. This is the screw that holds your, they all hold the upper to the lower together, but this one also secures your safety. And there's a spring up in there. And as you see, there's a hole in the trigger guard. Slide it straight through there. Okay, I've got it cranked down pretty tight, so there we go. Hope you guys are seeing this pretty good with them staying in frame. Alright, there's that. And now you're released. So what just fell out was the nut of the channel that goes through there for your safety. Spring pops right out. I'll keep that together. And, oh, of course I forgot a trigger pin. So usually these come up pretty easily. This one, however, was the one I bought off eBay. It was a mess. It was rusty. Soaked this one in PB Blaster, but it still had some corrosion. And I don't want to bump this table because I might knock off my camera thing. So usually you just push an Allen key in there and pushes right out. So I'm going to go off camera for a second. Okay, after some wrestling, finally got it out. Looks like I'm going to soak this in a little bit more PB Blaster and probably take a green scratch pad to this to clean it out a little bit. Maybe this is just the excuse I need to invest in that trigger upgrade, because I'm assuming that's some of the corrosion. Yeah, I'm sorry. You just take it, slide that trigger straight out of there. There's this little spring. It's going to pull straight up, but I'm assuming this is the hole that pin goes in, and I'm assuming there's a little corrosion in there. I probably could just take a pipe cleaner with some PB Blaster in there, but I want that new trigger, so this might be the perfect excuse. Alright, so as you see, there's a little O-ring there that holds the trigger to the trigger arm. Excuse my terminology, some of the things are just what I call them, so you'll get the gist. And that back screw that is on the outside of the gun body, this one right here, goes through there, through the regulator, into the receiver. Alright, And there we go. So moving right along. Now for the modification I'm doing, all the work happens right down in there. I don't actually need to take the regulator off, but I want to show you guys something. And I might as well lube it while I've got it apart. Alright, so this is the remaining screw that's going to hold the regulator together. It has a locking washer, so be mindful of that to replace that. And here you go. This is the regulator, the trigger mechanism. Make sure everything is moving freely, nice and easy. This sliding piece right there can stick, so just make sure it goes right back into place. Look for metal shavings, anything of that nature. This, what is this? Could be like some Loctite or something. That's not metal, so, but I am getting that out of there. Alright, I just recently took this apart, and you have two O-rings, one right here and one right here. Make sure they're okay, they're clear. You don't want to mess with them too much because they can pop out. If they're unseated, it's not a big deal, but you could easily lose them. So I'm just going to set that right here. And what I want to show you guys with my Tiberius T8.1, removing the back cap, gives you access to the firing bolt. And you can just push that guy out just like this. See this color? How this is a lot darker. Most of the firing bolts are just a tad bit darker than this, than the heat core, but this firing bolt, as you can see, is obviously quite a bit darker. That's because this one's steel. And I believe that has a lot to do with why I am getting 50 joules if I want it out of this thing. It's very hard. 50 joules without breaking a sweat, without any other modifications. The only thing I've done internally to this is put the, let's see if you can get some light in here, Milsig heat core O-ring in there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's that black line in there. Let's see that on. Okay, yeah, steel firing bolt. This is what I'm talking about. It's very dark, coated. The guys from First Strike told me the reason they got away from these is because they were getting a lot of problems with corrosion. As you can see, mine is well greased, lubed. If you get in there and you clean it out properly and regularly, you shouldn't have any problems with corrosion. As with this paintball marker, it was obviously used in the field outside in paintball games. That's why there was so much corrosion, like on this rear cap. Should have seen it before I cleaned it up. Like with the pin that holds the trigger in, a lot of this stuff was corroded, so luckily this was not. So I'm going to reassemble this. I don't really think I need to lube it. I haven't shot it very much since I got it back together, but basically, if you want to, you take this off, you clean off all the lube, all the grease, all the internals, and then re-lube everything. I don't really see the need to do this one at the moment because everything's looking great in here. So what I do, you'll feel a couple clicks for this. Not really clicks, but there's channels. Okay. So your air from your regulator goes through this tiny little hole here. All right. And you see there's these two O-rings, and that seals off this channel because the air goes into the heat core through this hole right here. So that channel goes all the way around the inner body. You don't really need to line it up. Although I've heard some people say that they do, so I mean, I guess why not? I'll line it up down through the bottom. And there's one click and there's a second click where you feel it seat. I don't really push that in too far because I let this back cap do the rest of the pushing for me. Make sure you don't cross thread it. I've got all the threads lubed with First Strike ointment. All right, give it a nice snug. Nice and hand tight. The most important thing, as you guys know, is you catch this little lip right here with an Allen key and you push it forward. All right, yeah, I don't really think I need to clean or lube everything. There's a lot of really good grease on there. So there's a dowel hole right there. That's where your outer body screw goes. Make sure your O-rings are still there. And then you replace that. Making sure that there's a dowel pin here and there's a hole there. So making sure it seats properly. I really don't try to rush on any of this stuff. There we go. Fell right in. And then you get your screw with the lock washer. There we go. All right, being that it has a lock washer, tend to give it a really good crank down. Because obviously it needs to be tight. So there's a couple other screws that you can see on the regulator. So while you're in here, give them just a little snug. There's one up under here. I believe that's the smaller Allen key. Yep. Give it a little snug. One in the back. Just a little snug. This is very important. Your fill nipple for your CO2, give that a little snug too. That's one place where it can leak. There's an O-ring down in there. I guess I can show you guys. Sorry, I know this is going to be a little bit longer video, but really good info for you that you really need to know. All right. So you see that O-ring in there? You see how shiny? I've got everything clean and lubed, so I don't need to replace anything. If you start to see your O-rings getting deformed, dried, cracked at all, go ahead and do yourself a favor and replace them. Because you need these things to fire when you need them, right? Not just when you're having fun test shooting. Okay, it's always good to go in reverse until you feel the threads fall down and then start to tighten, because you don't want to cross thread any of this stuff. When you cross thread stuff that has air going through it, it's gonna leak. I don't care how good your O-ring is. So make sure you snug that down really good. Smash that O-ring real good. Okay, so that's back together. I am going to set this aside for the moment, and we're going to do what we came here for, which I cannot wait to get my Instinct Industries passenger side index finger trigger release button installed. Look at that. Great packaging, by the way, Instinct. Here we go. Even got some branding on here, nice aluminum construction. Now let's see. Alrighty. Alright, so let me set that aside. And hopefully you can see this. Let me stand up. This is where your picks are going to come in handy. Can't see that. All right, I'll actually zoom in a little bit for you guys for this. There we go. Okay, you see the spring there? You essentially are going to slide that over. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to stick my pin. There we go. Slide it over. All right, let's get this other pick here. All right, that's actually a trigger release, so I'm going to put my thumb on the other side so that it doesn't move. Okay. There we go. And okay, well, maybe I need to attack the bottom. Okay, hold on just a second, guys. Okay, scratch the picks. Get the needle nose in there. Grab it just below your... See, there's the mag release button. Just below there. And then you can move it to the side. You can move it to the side, pull it out. I just did it just a second ago. Okay. I pushed down too as I did that. Mercy. Okay. It's a live video showing you the struggles of this stuff. Probably would be easier to separate the two sides of the gun body, but I believe this one is glued, so I'm going to try to avoid that. Yeah, it's definitely glued. See that? So definitely don't want to do that. I had it out just a second ago. So I'm pressing down on the spring. Then, there it is. You see it? Okay, when I get it clear, I'm pushing. There we go. Got it. Alright, so I'm going to take my needle nose, and I happen to know that just pops right out of that hole. There's a hole down there. Sorry if I lost the shot. I'm going to remove the mag release button. Alright, where do I put my spring? Alright, there is a hole that goes right down in there where this mag spring seats. So once you get it clear from the mag release, you pull it out this way and then then you push your mag release so that it's no longer in the channel that it seats in. And then you pull it straight up and your mag release button will come straight out. Alright. That was a little hairy. Okay, now let's check this stuff out. Let's see what else is going on here. Okay, this is the old one. This is the new Industries one. Alright, so it's completely reversed. Okay guys, I'm finally back. And this is why you need some good coffee. Alright, so after playing around with it for a while, after installing, after putting the new mag release in here, with the magazine and checking it out and seeing how everything works. And then also watching a quick YouTube video from Instinct Industries. I found out, see, this is what the magazines look like for the T8.1. It has a left side notch, and that's where the mag release button holds the magazine in place. What I found that you have to do is you have to sand that to go all the way across so that you can reverse it to the passenger or the index side. Here's what I discovered while I was away. Okay, I wanted to find my flat file because this is pretty soft metal. It would have just took a few minutes. I couldn't find it. I don't know what I did with it. It's around here somewhere. But I went ahead and used my Dremel in the garage. You don't want to shave metal around any of your open marker pieces, right? So when I did that, all these metal shavings were just everywhere around this magazine, inside, around in this valve. So what I did, as you can see, I removed the follower and the mag spring. I ran my rag through here. I just spent the last 20 minutes to a half hour trying to get every single bit of metal shavings out of this thing that I possibly could. And I'm still not confident that I've got it all the way. You know, just one or two stray shavings in an air marker can wreak havoc. I mean, they can chew up your O-rings. It can block some of the pinhole valves. I mean, it just would be a nightmare. So I'm going to work on this a little bit more to clean it some more, just so I can feel good about it. Maybe get some Q-tips and some crevices and stuff. But what I recommend, first of all, getting a flat file and then taping off these two channels, taping off the top, taping off this valve, taping off your CO2 cartridge hole, and even taping this off. I mean, before you file this, I mean, it might sound excessive, but you know, anything worth doing is worth doing right. So I would just really highly recommend that you're cautious of your shavings for your air markers, and definitely do not grind or file any metal anywhere near an exposed and opened up air pistol whatsoever. So, okay, got this done. Hallelujah. Now back to the reason we're all here. That's the old one. And I, of course, would lose my head if it weren't attached. Okay, and here we go. This is the Instinct Industries mag release. And just make sure that when you put it in, the wider part of the channel is facing down and the open part, this is where your spring is going. And that channel right here, make sure that's facing down. And you insert it into the left side or the driver's side of your magazine, and that little lip right there is going to keep it from going all the way through. So you just install that. Actually, okay, I think I'm going to put the spring in first. Originally it was seated like this because it was pushing from this side, so you want to do a 180, seat it this way. I'm going to get my needle nose and slot right there that it goes into. It's not like a defined hole like you see for the FSC, but there's definitely just one spot that it's going to go into. So I don't know how well you can see that, but there you go. Now going to put in my mag release button. Feel like you guys can't see this stuff. Just gonna lift this out. Okay, actually, use the hook end. Sorry if you can't see this, guys. Alright, go on needle nose again. Pulling that out towards myself. Boom. There we go. Now it's not all the way seated. So what I have to do is get that spring into that groove. Alright, I've got it in. So as you see, the curve was the opposite way of what I said a minute ago. So it needs to be curved like this, the spring. If you can see that right here. See, it curves like this. And got it seated in there pretty good. Last thing you want to do is for that spring to pop out of there and get a mag stuck. So, got my grooved magazine. Alright, it's locked in place. Index finger. Lovely. Alright, so that's a success. Successful install. So what I was saying before, the way the magazine release was, couldn't really reach it with your thumb. You kind of had to readjust your grip, push it to get the mag to release. Now I've got it gripped, expend my magazine, and just take my index finger without losing my grip, and hopefully without busting vases or anything. And look, it looks amazing. It's got this textured diamond pattern grip and the Instinct Industries logo right there. Alright, so there we go, guys. My first how-to mod video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys didn't get too bored with the length of the video, but as you see, we both walked through this install together, and there's a lot of things you could run into when you're going along with these installs. I figure while I got it open, I'm not going to take for granted that everybody knows how to reassemble their marker, so might as well reassemble. We've been here this long, right? Alright. So, I've got my upper all together. This part gets a little tricky. This is really the only tricky part of the install. What I'm going to do, since it was so difficult to get this out, I'm going to put a little FSC ointment on that just so to lube it. Set that to the side. Trigger goes through there. That O-ring. Try not to lube this or this so that your O-ring is somewhat dry, and that because if it's lubed, it'll slip out of there really easily. But you definitely want to have that O-ring. You want this arm to be on the side of your regulator. And this is the part that sucks, that doesn't suck about the FSC. Okay, so what you're going to do, just going to compress this spring here and then just thread it down in there. Definitely not the easiest thing to do. Oh, and I lost my O-ring. All right, so I've got it held in place like that. As long as your spring gets through the body, lower, you're good. Boom, fell right into place. Now, take your looped pin, press that through there. I usually can use it edge of the table. If you find yourself getting caught on something, just wiggle the trigger a little bit because it's already in there now. All right. Just gonna use this to seat it just flush. All right. Now you want to seat this spring and this nut up through the bottom of the body here. Sometimes you got to wiggle the maybe let's pull that up a little bit. Wiggle the safety. Just a moment. There we go. To make sure that's in position. There we go. All right, and holding that up with your finger, leave it seated in the back and just expose it a little bit and sit your spring on there. Boom. All right, now take that screw right up through the middle. Tighten. Nice and snug, hand tight. All right, leaving the one with the washer for the front. I'm going to go ahead and put the rear one on. And remember, this is the one that goes up through your regulator. So I get it nice and tight. All right, not crazy tight, but really good and tight. All right, so got my rail. Screw with the washer. Remember guys, this one does not need to be super tight because you don't want it to protrude through the barrel channel. There we go, just give it a couple foot-pounds. All right, the safety works. Now you want to put your spring, the bolt spring, and this is going to push, you remember you pushed your bolt forward, so when you install your barrel, that's going to push it back. Boom. And make sure this hole is lined up to where you can see through the bottom of that. Good to go. Where's my mag? All right. Your modified magazine. Through there. Index release. Oh my gosh, I love this. Because as you know, if you own a T8.1 It is not easy, even with decent sized hands. It's not easy to get to that. I don't think anyone can get to that unless you have some ridiculously long thumbs, but you can get to that index. I'll be doing this one. I'll find my file because I am not going to Dremel any more of these. I don't recommend it whatsoever. Too many metal shavings, and I'm still going to tape up my mags when I do them all. But there you go. If you enjoyed this video, if you're able to hang in through the end, go ahead and drop me a like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching. Take care of yourselves.